Hey guys, so Sarah started our conversation this week talking about humanity, and I thought it was really interesting because as I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about today, I realized that as we go through our normal day-to-day lives, we're just all sort of indifferent to humanity in general. And maybe sometimes we come home hating humanity, especially those of us who deal with people, lots of people, on a day-to-day basis. It just seems to be a lot easier to see the bad in humanity. You're having a bad day, you deal with awful people one day, you just come home and you're miserable. Ugh, I hate people. They're so rude, they're grumpy, nobody's grateful for anything. And because it's so easy to focus on the bad, that's why it takes such intense, concentrated doses of good and humanity for people to acknowledge it, such as disasters or times of grief, when lots of people gather together to try and do good and make a difference. And while that's lovely and while that really does help restore people's faith in humanity, it's sad that that's what it takes. It takes a disaster, it takes something awful in order for you to realize that there are good people in the world. And one of the examples that comes to my mind, besides the recent natural disasters or bombings such as in Boston, was when the Supreme Court recently heard the cases for Prop 8 and DOMA, and people on Facebook changed their profile picture to some form of an equal sign to show their support of gay marriage and equal rights. And I remember going on Facebook that day and just scrolling through, and everyone's profile picture were these equal signs, so much red in support. And I just remember sitting there in awe and thankful that I'm able to surround myself with such wonderful and decent human beings that literally not a single person said anything negative about human rights. And it was just such a wonderful and an uplifting experience, something so small as people changing their profile pictures on Facebook. And while I love that times like these exist where you can just sit back and look at all the good there is in the world, I want us to be able to do that and appreciate it every day on a smaller scale. Be it by taking note of somebody doing something out of the goodness of their heart, or maybe it's you yourself who takes the time to do something for somebody else, because there is lots of good in our day-to-day lives. It's just so much harder to dig through the bad and notice it. I'm a server in a restaurant, so I deal with lots of people on a daily basis. More notably, I deal with lots of old people, lots of grumpy old people, lots of mean, grumpy old people. But it's my job, and I try to deal with everything they're throwing at me with a smile, but sometimes it starts to weigh on you when rude person after rude person is just in your face, yelling at you about things you have no control over. And they're rarely grateful for all the things you do for them as you're running around the restaurant. But the other day, I had this one table, and it was a family of four, a dad and three kids who were roughly about my age, and they were probably the most polite people that I've ever met in my life. Everything was, may I, please, thank you. And so at one point I stopped and I told them, I said, thank you guys so much for being so sweet and so nice, and I just have to say that you're probably the most polite people I've ever met, and especially the most polite people that I've ever dealt with in this restaurant. And they just made my day and helped me realize, hey, even though I deal with a lot of grumpy old people, there are still really nice people that exist in the world. So every day we should all try and take the time to take notice of the good things that exist in humanity and try to be one of those people who also exude the good that exists in the world. And while your actions may feel small and insignificant, you could be making somebody's day. So I'm going to leave it at that, and I will see you lovely people next week.